You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. The Cauldron of Hate, a story by Grant Baciocco. Chapter 14. The mighty ranch hand threw the remote control at the TV. It smashed against the screen, shattering the LCD. "Hey, watch it!" LXO shouted. "I told you," Suprema said, hands on her hips, pointing at the TV. "I told you, and you two didn't want to believe me. The Cauldron of Hate is getting all our press. They are the new darlings of the news world, not us." "But how can that be?" the mighty ranch hand shouted, standing from the couch and beginning to pace back and forth. "We are the good guys. They are a bunch of losers. How do they become popular?" "Well, apparently by being good soccer coaches," LXO replied. "Good soccer coaches," the mighty ranch hand shouted, turning on his partner. "You know these three. We've captured them numerous times. How can they be good at anything?" LXO scratched his head. "Well, I think maybe what the Blinding Skull said was true. Maybe they have found a new outlook." "Bull honky," the mighty ranch hand shouted. "They have found a new way to scam the people of Saddle River City. Something's not right here. Something's not right, and I want to get to the bottom of it. I want our press back." "What are we going to do?" Suprema asked. "This coach, the one that quit. Why did he quit?" the mighty ranch hand asked. Suprema thought for a moment. "I don't know. None of the reports have said." The mighty ranch hand turned to face his partners. "You find that coach, and you found the answer to what's going on here." Suprema nodded, and before the mighty ranch hand and LXO could blink, she was out the skylight of the Tower of Good using every ounce of her sonic flight. She scoured Saddle River City for Coach Templin and found him in line at the DMV. Coach Templin was just walking to the counter as his number was called when Suprema grabbed him and deposited him in the rec room of the Tower of Good before the mighty ranch hand and LXO. Coach Templin stood there, DMV number still clutched in his hand. He was trembling, and a fine bead of sweat covered his forehead. He paused for a moment, looked from Suprema to the mighty ranch hand, and then to LXO, and then screamed and fainted. The coach woke several minutes later, now lying on the couch. As his eyes opened, the faces of the League of Good stared down at him. "Howdy," the mighty ranch hand said, tipping his hat. "Hi," Coach Templin replied, his fingers twitching uncontrollably. "Sorry to have startled you in any way, citizen. We just needed to speak with you, and, well, it seems Suprema made it happen." Coach Templin looked over at Suprema, who smiled and waved back. "You did pretty good for your first supersonic flight," she added. Coach Templin nodded again and swallowed hard. LXO cleared his throat. "Is it true that you were the coach for the Saddle River City Death Rays before the Cauldron of Hate?" Yeah, I was," Coach Templin replied. "Is it also true that you left the coaching position?" Coach Templin nodded. "And why, may we ask, was that?" Coach Templin looked around nervously. "Well, the Cauldron of Hate were the sponsors of the team at the start of the season. But after the first game, I decided that I could no longer work with them in that position. Their participation was court-ordered, so I knew that they were not going anywhere, so I left." The mighty ranch hand crossed his arms. "Why do you reckon you could no longer work for them in that position?" "We had different ideas on how the team should play." LXO put a hand to his chin. "How so?" "Well, I'd rather not get into it. It's the past." Suprema stepped forward. "Citizen, right now there is a team of supervillains out there who are gaining the city's trust. If there is an underhanded plan behind their current rise to fame, we need to know about it." Coach Templin nodded. "I don't know of any underhanded plan behind what they are doing, but..." "But what?" LXO said forcefully, yet still trying to remain friendly. "During the first game, they cheated." Suprema stomped a foot. "I knew it." LXO held up a hand to calm her. "Cheated? How?" Coach Templin sighed. "The Blinding Skull masterminded it." "Of course," the mighty ranch hand said. Plant Lady used her powers to make the grass on the field help the kids score goals. The living lumps stomped on the ground, causing defenders on the opposing team to fall. They were using their powers to help the kids win. Thank you, citizen. Thank you for your honesty. We will now put a stop to this and— Wait, Coach Templin replied. That was then. They aren't cheating anymore. Suprema scoffed. Right. No, it's true. I quit because if the reasons behind the team's first win ever came out, it would ruin my political aspirations. But I warned them they could no longer cheat or I'd tell everything to the JYSO. And I've been watching. They haven't been cheating. Suprema stepped forward. Then how do you explain all the wins? Coach Templin whimpered. They're actually coaching the kids. The kids have actually improved and are a really good team. Alexo looked at the mighty ranch hand and then at Suprema. There was a silence, and then all three broke into laughter. If you honestly think that those three are no longer cheating, then you are incredibly naive, citizen, Alexo said, wiping a tear of laughter from the corner of his mask. These are three of the lowest of the low of supervillains. Trust me, they are cheating. But didn't you say that they were no longer supervillains? Maybe they turned over a new leaf. The only thing those three have turned over is the leaf of sneakiness. They've just found a better way to disguise their insidious plans. Suprema took another step towards the group. She clenched her fist. They must be removed. They must be taught a lesson. The mighty ranch hand tipped his hat back. Suprema's right. We've got to crush them before they carry out whatever it is they're hankering to carry out. Alexo nodded. Yes, we need to round them up now. Suprema, you— No, Coach Templin said firmly. The three heroes turned and looked at him in disbelief. Suprema turned fiercely towards him, her eyes burning. No, she snapped. No, Coach Templin continued. They are actually playing by the book. He paused and looked at his shoes. I felt the same way you did, that there's no way they could reform themselves, but I— Again he paused. Alexo crossed his arms. You what? I've been spying on them. Every day, every practice, I've been watching them, waiting for them to cheat so I could run to the JYSO officials and report them and get my job back. But they aren't using their powers to help the kids win games. Surely the Blinding Skull is using his intelligence to plan out the victory strategies, Alexo said. He may be, Coach Templin replied, but that's not against the rules. If you're going to take the Blinding Skull down just for doing that, you're going to have to take down all the rest of the coaches in the JYSO. Using your smarts to plan out victory strategies, that's just coaching. The mighty ranch hand began to chuckle. Partner, I appreciate your opinion that the Cauldron of Hate isn't cheating, but you don't know these three like we do. These are three ruthless degenerates who will stop at nothing to have this city eaten out of the palm of their hands. You say you haven't seen them cheating, but trust us, they are cheating, and we've got to take them down. But, Coach Templin said, raising a finger, Enough, Suprema snapped as she put a hand on his shoulder, gripping it with a fraction of her strength that told the coach he was done talking. The time for talking is over. Alexo nodded. I agree. Suprema, take this citizen back to where you found him, then meet us on the practice field. In a blink, Suprema and Coach Templin were gone. Alexo and the mighty ranch hand only faintly believing that they had heard Coach Templin scream as Suprema launched with him in tow. It's time to take care of these jokers once and for all, Alexo said as he and the mighty ranch hand began walking towards the good plane. Before the League of Goods rec room had vanished before his eyes, Coach Templin was already back at the counter of the DMV. The clerk looked at him blankly, completely nonplussed by his sudden appearance inches from her. He stared at her. She stared at him. Then, unflinching, she said, I'm sorry, sir. We passed your number. You'll have to take a new one. You've been listening to The Cauldron of Hate. To download a PDF of the chapter you just heard, visit cauldronofhate.com. The Cauldron of Hate was written by Grant Baciocco. The story was edited by Liz Brown, and the audio was edited by Steven Staver. Music by Dan Ring. Special thanks to all the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who make this content possible. And a special mention to those who supported the producer level, including Dorothy Baciocco, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, David Akers, Jamie Donmeyer, and Vicky Sebring. To find out more about becoming a patron, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media. This episode is copyright 2021 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Baciocco executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com. You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.